How's it feeling being in the semifinals?
Pretty awesome.
Surreal.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
You may have noticed we're not in Toronto anymore. Vibes are a little bit different here in Calgary.
Every summer, the city hosts the world's largest outdoor rodeo, the Calgary Stampede, which has been taking place since 1912.
Well, I live in Texas, so this isn't my first rodeo.
In the States, we say, yeehaw.
But in Canada, in Calgary specifically, we say Yahoo.
Yahoo!
Or
Yahoo?
Yahoo!
Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast. I'm your host, Rich Herrera. Thank you for tuning into my podcast, Pushing Play. Just a reminder, just follow me on socials at Rich Herrera, at Eat Your Content on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, and just that way you know when things are going to come out. And also make sure you like and follow, hit the subscribe button on your podcast player of choice, and on YouTube so you'll be notified when new episodes drop. We are continuing on our journey of Top Chef Destination Canada Season 22. We're on episode 11. We are in Calgary. We're down to 6 chefs. We're winding down to the finals here. Joining me on this journey, as always, for this season, Top Chef Season 21 finalist, Chef Savannah Miller. Chef Savannah, thank you for coming back on. You keep coming back.
Gosh.
I appreciate it so much.
I know. You just said episode 11, and I was like, wow.
I know.
You know, I guess I feel two ways. I'm like, episode 11, how are we already here? And I'm also like, yeah, this is my Friday morning. Like, this is my Friday gig. You know, this is what I do. So it's been really fun, but this, I can't believe it's almost to a close.
I know we are winding down quickly. And 11 weeks, crazy how time flies when you're having fun. And just yesterday we were like, oh man, Top Chef, brand new season, woo. And now we're almost done.
There were so many of them. Now there's 6.
Now we're down to 6.
You know. Yeah.
Crazy. So we are in Calgary, beautiful area of Canada. I have only seen it obviously in pictures, never been to Canada. Actually, I take that back. I went to Canada once when I was a kid. I visited my aunt and uncle in New York, and we took a little like tram thing, like tour. We went right over the border, turned around, and came back. So I can say I was in Canada for about 50 feet.
The 2 places at once thing. You're like,
yeah,
on both
right.
sides.
Left foot's in Canada, right foot's in the U.S. Yeah,
We
good
did
times
like
where I
a-
didn't. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. We did like a Niagara Falls. Like we did the Maid of the Mist thing. So
Oh, did you?
my parents thought that was real important. Yeah. So I'm with you. It was quick. It was like, we're going to take you, you're going to get soaked, and we're going to go straight back to like where we're headed. But yeah, Canada trips, we did it. We'll have to go back for real.
Yeah, it was fun when you could just cross the border and come back without fear of deportation if you were of a certain skin color. Anyway, sorry.
Back. Yeah. No, don't be sorry. Please take your soapbox. Please.
I digress.
Yeah. Right.
All right, back to the fun stuff. I don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. This is why we do this on Friday mornings. I need an escape from real life.
That's like the late night Saturday podcast for Rich, probably.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we are in Calgary for the semifinals, as we were saying. Beautiful country, beautiful looking area there. Kristen, this is what I wanted to ask you about right off the top. Kristen announces that the finals are going to be in Milan. How much did you hate hearing that? I mean, look, a cruise ship off the coast of Curacao is all well and good, but it is no Milan, ma'am. How'd you feel about that?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I mean, I could imagine a lot of people were like, what the hell? You know, I mean,
Right?
I don't want to sound ungrateful because it's like, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I also was a cruise kid. I've been on like, that's what we did. Like, that's what our family did. So me going on a cruise for Top Chef kind of was like PTSD before, you know, it even happened. It was like childhood trauma. I'm like, God. So Milan sounds amazing. Yeah, I'm very jealous.
I know. I bet you paused and you're like, probably looked at your husband going, what the hell, man?
Well, yeah, I wonder if they like, you know, I don't really know the answer to this, but I'm curious if they curate it around, you know, like we had a lot of people who did like seafood. And so I'm like, oh, were they taking us to like the ocean? And then it's like we do have a lot of people with, you know, Italian influences this season. So it's like, is that an influence? I don't really know. But damn, I was like, maybe I should have done more Italian food.
So heading off to Milan in a couple of weeks. I gotta say, lucky crew to go. First to Canada for your season of Top Chef, and then off to Milan. I mean, just jet setting around the world for this group. So we get right into the quick fire. The Top Chef Canada finalist Connie D'Souza is the guest judge. Massimo was funny. He said, "I met her at a dinner I wasn't invited to, but I snuck in." That's
Sounds
such a
accurate.
Massimo thing. I mean, I
believe
totally
him.
can see him do. Yeah, I believe him. Totally see him doing that. Crazy. So interesting quick fire. It was to cook a pancake breakfast for 50 people, which felt like an elimination challenge, honestly.
Yeah.
So they have 45 minutes, and this was based on Calgary's rich cowboy history, which I did not know that they had a rich cowboy history, and the annual Calgary Stampede event, which looks fun. I would love to go to that one
Yeah.
day. So a pancake breakfast followed by watching a rodeo and a bunch of horses. That sounds fantastic.
100%. The fits were on point as well.
Yes.
I feel like, yeah, I mean, halfway through the quick fire, Justin was like, "Wait, is there no quick fire this episode?" And I was like, "This is the quick fire." And then I paused it and I went back. I just made sure. I was like, "Yeah, this is the quick fire." I kind of liked it.
Yeah, I gotta say, not digging into my memory too deep here, but I gotta say this. I think this is one of the first, if only, large scale quick fire. I'm trying to think of past seasons. I don't remember a quick fire being like a catering event,
Yeah.
like an elimination challenge, like a large scale elimination challenge. So
They're up in the ante.
yeah, because they said 45 minutes, and Caesar's like 45 minutes to make a pancake. What? And they're like, oh nope, you got to cook for 50 people. So then that's when
Yeah.
the stress kicked in a little bit.
Yeah.
Adding to the challenge was the pancakes had to be creative, no just basic pancake with syrup, and had to be handheld, so it can't be eaten with utensils. And the winner gets 10K. When I first heard handheld, my mind immediately went like a crepe burrito type thing. So what were you
Okay.
thinking when you heard this challenge? I mean, I think a pancake taco was the default, but I was kind of thinking
Yeah.
creative, like a crepe burrito would be good.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking like maybe an arepa, or I was thinking
Mm,
like I don't know the name of it, so I probably wouldn't have done this, right? Because I wouldn't have been able to name it. But there's an Ethiopian restaurant in town here that I really like, and they have this like bread. I'm not going to call it a flatbread because it's not like a flatbread, but it reminds me of a crepe if a crepe had like a ton of moisture and a ton of holes, and
mm,
it creates like all these holes like a pan. You know when you're making a pancake and you're like, oh, I see the bubbles. It's time to flip it,
hmm
or that's what I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it kind of has all those bubbles and it's so moist, and it's the purpose is to pick up all this sauce so it goes in those little like spongy holes. And my thought
hmm
was like something like that would be cool, but in a similar fashion of like you roll it and it's something almost like imagine it kind of looks like a Swiss cake roll, but you can pick it up. Like I don't know.
Ooh,
It's easy to sit on the couch and be like, I
sure.
probably would have, you know. But yeah, those were two things that came to mind. I thought it was an interesting challenge for sure.
Yeah, it's always fun watching these challenges as like a home competitor, watching it sitting at home, and I'm like, eating a bag of chips, going, "Flip that pancake, you moron! What are you doing?" I'm like trying to tell these chefs what to do, and I'm sitting
Yeah.
here with chip crumbs on my chest, eating eating Cheetos on the
Yeah.
couch. So it's
Yeah.
like, what am I doing? What am I doing? But
The
yeah,
moments when people are
go ahead.
waiting for food and they're like, oh, I'll have it up in 1 second. And then you're like, come on, like the people are hungry. Like,
What are
me
you
like
doing?
flashback to my season. I'm like having people help me serve. Gail's like, Savannah, let me help you. And I'm like, thank you. Oh,
Right.
so
But
silly.
yeah, so this is a really interesting challenge because we have like in Jacksonville, I'm sure Raleigh has the same thing, Raleigh Durham. We have these like Japanese places that do these bubble waffles, and they put them in this like cardboard cone thing, and they just fill it with all kinds of like fun stuff. Like it's either ice cream or something savory. We have the breakfast versions with scrambled eggs and sausages and stuff like that. So that's where my mind immediately went to, is like have it in like a cone shaped thing,
Sounds good.
and then like fill it with scrambled eggs and sausage. I mean, that's perfect. But I mean, I'm not that creative because these are some pretty creative stuff there.
Yeah.
One thing I found interesting is a lot of hoecakes. It was
Hmm.
giving top croquette from your season. Uh, can you kind of walk me through the headspace of why hoecakes was the default for a lot of these chefs?
I am wondering if they were, I mean, so they kind of fell into not like the indigenous challenge, but like we had some of that highlighting like local stuff, like the berries and meat later on, right? And
Right.
so part of me is wondering if like, you know, if you did your research and you're expecting to maybe lean into this when you're in Calgary, and here we are, here's the quick fire. I'm gonna lean into like that's the only reason I think like hoe cake, like corn and things like that. It kind of brings it to the table for me, uh, inspiration wise.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I don't really know. I mean, unless you're just trying to get something sturdier, you're trying to build more structure. Maybe people were thinking like I'm the only one that's going to do it. But I don't know. For me, it kind of lent itself to like I throw corn and things like that into the ingredient box of like berries and beef, and maybe they were thinking that already, but maybe I just have hindsight. I don't know.
Well, the structure thing makes sense because you have, you make a corn cake, especially I think Tristan put, he shredded some corn in there, some actual corn. I think
Yeah.
it does give it a little bit more heft to be able to eat with your hands. Because if you did like a straight up pancake, then it could get a little, I guess it could get a little messy. But the corn cake just, it's almost like you're making a plate with the corn cake to eat with. So
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know. But it was just
Maybe.
interesting that a lot of people did the corn cake thing.
Yeah. And then also, yeah, I guess like in my mind, I don't immediately think that it gives it more. It depends on how you do it, right?
Yeah.
Like I think it's interesting, and also maybe it's just another like depth of flavor and sweetness. And when you're saying like breakfast, I think when I put pancakes on the brunch menu at a restaurant I worked at, I was like, I'm going to do corn. I immediately thought corn because I was like, I'm going to do a different pancake. So maybe it's just like a where your brain goes
Yeah.
as a chef sometimes.
Yeah, I guess it was just I just thought it was really interesting. Everybody kind of went
Croquette.
down that
Yeah.
path. Almost everybody went down that path.
Yeah.
One thing I really liked hearing, and we touched on this in previous episodes about Tristan's philosophy of cooking, but hearing him kind of like say it out loud in his confessional about he's traveled all over the world. He was a military kid, so he's
Yeah.
been to a lot of places and absorbed a lot of experience, and then filtered that through his own vision of Afro-Caribbean. So he's taking things from places that he's been to and then cooking it through the lens of that is why he is so good at this game, and why
Yeah.
he's so creative, and why he can take a bunch of varied ingredients that don't seem to go together, go through that filter of what he's been through, and create something great. So what did you think hearing that?
Yeah, I think he's not like destined to win, but he has the game plan. Like he understands that. Like I think he knows what it takes, and it's not fluff for him. It's like it's very genuine. And you have to have that experience and be able to pull off that technique and be able to reference those things that you've learned, but without just recreating somebody else's food and putting it on a plate.
Yeah.
And I think he does a really good job of making it Tristan's, but like it's obvious that like he didn't learn all of these things just from growing up in his childhood. You know what I mean? Like he went
Yeah.
out and he did it and he learned and he took all those experiences, but he's still going to give it to you in a way that's his and personal and his own. I think
Yeah.
it's really fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to hear him say what we already kind of figured out of the
Hmm.
way he cooks, and getting that validation for us as viewers. And that's the difference between somebody like Tristan and somebody like Vinny. They both had mentors growing up, with Marcus Samuelson for Tristan, and then whoever was cooking at Nomad for Vinny. But what differentiated them is Vinny was a carbon copy of those mentors, as opposed to what Tristan's doing is taking the influence from his mentors and putting it through his own experience. And that's where the roads diverged for those two. So really interesting. Really liked that he said that, and really getting us into his head of how he cooks on a daily basis. And
Yeah.
so seeing him on Top Chef doing what he probably does every day
Yeah.
is really interesting to see. He's just turning it up to 11 for the show. And a couple other things on the quick fire. Let's talk about Kristen's Yahoo for just a second. I mean, that came,
Yahoo!
yeah, that came from the gut. That came from someplace deep
Well,
and childlike, which I thought was fun.
it sounded like they made her do it 4 times, right? Like I was like, "Ooh, I feel like they were like, all right, one more time, just so we have like a few, you know?" And I was like, poor Kristen, like I hope she, I don't know, had some hot tea or something. You know what I mean? I heard a little voice crack. I was like, "Ooh."
Yeah, yeah. That was, and then Tom's like Yahoo, like like a dad does.
Yeah, give it your all, Tom. Come on.
Come on, man. Come on, give us a
So
Yahoo.
silly.
But it was fun, and I do love when they were cooking. So they're cooking outside. It's at where they did the medal ceremonies for the Winter Games back in the day. So everybody's cooking outside. They have these like gas griddles that seem to be temperamental. And I love that everybody's first pancake is horrible. And it just reminded me that, top chefs, they're just like us. When I cook a pancake, my first one's always horrible. You're just kind of
Yeah.
getting to know like the temperature of where to put stuff on the griddle. And then Massimo's like, I'm done with this. And he makes these mini pancakes on in a pan. Did you like that pivot, or do you think he should have tried to figure it out?
Um, I mean, I guess I like the idea of pivoting and not like spending too much time focusing on one thing. I mean, I thought he was more so running out of batter. Did I miss that? Was he just doing smaller just because of the pan? I thought he also was like running low on batter, right? Or no?
To me, it seemed like he was doing smaller because of the pan.
Just the pan only? Okay,
Right,
then
just the pan.
then that changes things for me because I thought it was more of a batter issue is what I wrote down, which maybe I was just like, yeah, that's definitely why you're doing that. Anyways, if that's not the case, then I don't really know if I would have gone small just for that sake. Like, why don't you just put some on the grill, and if you need to keep it going faster, you can put some in the pan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe you do both. I don't know. I probably wouldn't have done that because I thought it was just kind of jarring. It was too small. Like,
It
you
was
can
too
go
small.
smaller. Yeah, but the thing is, in general, I don't think that I plate as big. So like, I do think that some people's dish was huge. So I'm okay with smaller, but his was too small.
Yeah, I mean, and somebody can put it in the comments of why he was making them small. I think it was just because of the pan, because he had like a regular 10-inch pan, and he was trying to crank out
Yeah.
50 pancakes. So I
I
thought
could
it
have
was a
made
pan.
that up.
I don't think I don't know if it was because he was running out of batter, but somebody's going to comment and fact
I
check me.
feel
I'm
like
sure.
Goldilocks. Is it Goldilocks? Yeah, I'm like too small. This one's too
small.
big.
Yeah. So before we get into the individual pancakes, any other standouts during the cooking of the pancakes there?
I mean, I guess just in general, I thought it was funny when Londa's like, "Oh, we're all making hoecakes." Like,
Yeah.
Okay. And I liked that Tristan had like his stuffed somewhat. Like, to me,
Mhm.
that was interesting. Something thrown out there. I mean, honestly, yeah. I guess I spent the majority of this quick fire, the first half, being like, "Is this an elimination challenge? What's happening?" Like, wait, hold on. I thought it was good, and I thought it was fun, and I thought it was like low risk, but also when you put them in that type of situation, like, it's not going to be too crazy. It was
Yeah.
just a fun, enjoyable watch.
Yeah, it was a fun, enjoyable quick fire. I love a
Warm
good
me up.
pancake. Yeah. So let's talk about the different pancakes in order of judges' appearance. So Shuai made a cornmeal pancake with scrambled eggs, lapchong cheddar, and a chili crisp avocado aioli. Give me some of that on a bagel. That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
So I mean, the chili crisp hot, but the avocado kind of smooths it out. I think that would be awesome. The judge thought it had lots of flavor, and they liked the hefty portion. So, what did we think of Schweiz? I thought it was very creative.
I know. I guess I'm immediately like, well, I guess I'm like, they went too big, but they enjoyed it. I think it kind of reminds me of like, it's like an avocado, not avocado toast, but it gives me those
Right.
vibes. Like, I put like chili crunch on my avocado toast.
Yeah. Fun.
So yeah, so I thought it was kind of inventive. For me, Shuai always like does a good job of making things that this was a comforting challenge to begin with, but it was still like Shuai coded.
Yeah, very much.
He makes
very much.
Yeah.
It's very like you could, if you didn't name the plates, you could pick out that was probably his, and just because of his signature things that he integrates into his dishes. So
And I had cornmeal.
Yeah, cornmeal. So Massimo did a buttermilk pancake, so he veered away from cornmeal. So he did a buttermilk pancake with the plum sauce, bacon marmalade, and a peach puree. All the judges wished it was bigger. I think all of us wished it was bigger. It was. I don't even think it was barely silver dollar size pancakes. And the judges thought it was. They didn't. Yeah, and the judges didn't need the two sauces. They thought it was too acidic. I don't think this was a good one for Massimo, but he tried to pivot and didn't work out for him.
Yeah, I appreciate his commitment to the bit up until the end. Like, no, you guys are gonna eat a ton of food. Like, I didn't want to give you a lot.
That's talking your way out of a problem, right?
Yeah, and I expect nothing less from him. But
Right.
I'm really glad that he showed up in that way. I
Yeah.
was like, what are you gonna say to them? Like, I was waiting to see what he was gonna say.
Right, exactly. And he
Yeah.
did. He schmoozed his way out. You could buy that reasoning. He's like, I didn't want to fill you guys up, and all right, Massimo, good job. So the next up was Bailey. Bailey did a buckwheat crispelle, fancy name for a crepe, right? I mean, it's a
100%.
crepe, right?
Yeah, we have a crepe situation happening at the restaurant right now, and I was like, okay, crispelle, okay, like
Just
I
call it
can
that.
do
And you can
that.
call it that and charge $4 more. I mean, there you go.
Oh my God. It looked really pretty. The way that her, crispelle looked like that is, it makes sense because it's buckwheat, but the Nigerian like pancake thing that
Mhm.
I'm sorry, it was Ethiopian that I was talking about. It kind of looks like that, but very spongy. So I thought that was cool. And immediately was like, oh wow, maybe same, but different.
Yeah. And hers came with a brown butter pecan, which sounded delicious. Like butter pecan's one of my favorite ice creams.
Yeah.
A plum maple syrup and roasted mushrooms and spinach. So it had like sweet and savory kind of going on. The judges thought it was easy to eat, which it did. It looked like you can walk around with it
Yeah.
easily and not lose a lot of the fillings there. And they loved the pecans, which I agree with. That would probably be one of the pancakes I would have tasted for sure. So I thought Bailey did a really great job.
I thought it looked so good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So Lana did a cream corn hoe cake with sausage, poached peaches, and a peach and white hibiscus sauce. The judge thought it had good flavor, but it was more about the sausage and not about the pancake. It was a pancake challenge, so the pancake should have been highlighted, but she had a lot of sausage on there. So yeah, I mean, I guess so. But if the point is to make a pancake and you gave him a sausage more than a pancake, then I guess points off.
Yeah. I think it's when you have like so many things that are already similar, like pancake challenge, and then a lot of people are doing hoe cakes, they're gonna nitpick things like that.
Yeah, yeah. Caesar did an XO pancake with basil and Chinese sausage, brulee tomato, and candied mushroom. Loved the flavor, but seemed disconnected with the pancake and the tomato basil combo. This is probably my least favorite. To me, it didn't look good. I probably wouldn't
Yeah.
have eaten it if it was presented to me. So Caesar, he's still kind of like experimenting with a lot of different things. And it's not quite paying off for him. And I think this is the example of that one. What did you think of Caesar's there?
Same. I think Caesar's probably the type of chef who, the menu at his restaurant's probably crazy inventive and they're all hits.
Hmm.
But that's because he's like probably R&Ding this stuff all the time. So it's like back home, he might make something that sounds wacky, like, 10 or 15 times minimum before it ever hits a menu. Where here, he's just like, okay, baby, I'm working out kinks as we go. And so, we're going to get like those crazy brainchild dishes from Caesar, but they may not be fully worked through. And like that, you're going to have some, and that's the case where you have really good things and you have things that aren't that great. So I like the risk that he takes, but it made me like really want to try his restaurant. Like even when his dishes don't land, I think the way they sound and the way his brain works, it
Yeah.
makes me really interested to go there.
He's very creative. It's just not
Yeah.
panning out for him on Top Chef in the way that it's panning out for, like, say, Tristan, doing the kind of the
Yeah.
same experimentation. It's just not landing, and I'm not. He can't seem to figure out like why that is.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens. So Tristan, he did a something called a cachapa, with cheese and Berber chorizo with charred bacon and pepper syrup. The judges loved the roasted pepper kind of salsa thing and the sweet corn in the pancake or in the cachapa. Very creative. So he
Yeah.
did like a hoe cake, but he did his Afro Caribbean spin on it, which is what we were just
Yeah.
talking about. What he said in his confessional, everything flows through that filter of his Afro Caribbean background, and out comes a cachapa instead of a hoe cake. So what did we think?
I I think he's super inventive, right? Like he also just has so much knowledge. He seems
Hmm.
just like the best type of food nerd. So anytime he comes up with something, I honestly, I'd be curious to know if it's always like the initial inspiration or if he's like, you already know he's good at the game. And that's a compliment, right? Like you're fantastic chef, but also good at the game and the way he thinks. And like even knowing, okay, well, I'm going to have to do this, but I'm going to have to put my spin on it. Like I like when people are good, but I like when they know why they're good. And
Hmm.
like he has so many reasons that he's good. But as far as creating the dishes, sometimes I wonder what's first. Like, oh, this challenge reminds me of this thing. I'm going to make this dish. Or, okay, I'm going to work backwards. Like, I have so much knowledge. Let me open my Rolodex of, dish ideas and be like, I can kind of link it to this or this, and maybe we'll go with this flavor profile. I just imagine that he like closes his eyes and it's like, and it's going, going, going.
Yeah.
Which I think is great.
It probably, like you're saying, closes his eyes and it comes and it just visualizes in his brain, right? Kind of like a beautiful mind, kind of he's seeing the equations in his head kind of flowing around, and then it just flows through his mind and his body, his soul, out through his hands, and then there it is. Just the way his brain works is awesome.
Do you remember, very small tangent here, because I'm thinking like, wow, that would be hilarious. They should do like a small edit, right? Like, but they wouldn't. But then I was like, they would, because in our season they did that to Danny. Do you remember it was like, I believe it was the chaos challenge. If you don't, you're gonna have to go back and watch, and I think you're gonna laugh your ass off. In the chaos like challenge, there's a maybe 10 or 20-second clip when I believe we're conceptualizing what dishes we're gonna do, and you see like Danny, I believe, go through this, like they edited it really funny, like it's A Beautiful Mind-esque or something, right? Like thinking deeply, and it gets very like cerebral.
Yeah, I think I do remember that. They kind of like weave in different images and stuff like that.
And all of a sudden you're like, I've never seen this before on Top Chef. Like, I remember being like, what are we watching? Like, so I might have to go back and watch that. But
that's probably why I said that. Subconsciously, it was probably in there from your season, and just kind of
we'll have to go back
to the surface.
Gotta
go back and watch
Anyways,
that one.
Sorry about that. But yeah.
No, that's cool. That's funny. That's funny.
Silly.
So the winner was Schwei. He wins 10K. Total money win so far is 20K. So he's walking away with some cash at the end of this. I thought Schwei was a good winner. I think he did really well. Honestly, it was going to be, for me, it was going to be between Schwei and Tristan. I thought they both had really creative non-hoecake pancake dishes. So good pick. I thought he deserved that one, especially with that chili crisp avocado aioli thing. Awesome.
Yeah, his food always like sounds very good. Schwei, and he's also on like a little bit of a streak.
He is on a streak. He won the elimination challenge, so back-to-back wins for him. Elimination challenge, and then immediately followed by a quick fire win. So good job for that. So brings us to the elimination challenge. So the guest judge was Dinia Baltzar, chef owner, if I think I'm pronouncing it right, Baltzar, chef owner of Creative Cuisine Catering and representative of the, I'm going to mess this one up, Ladili Q First Nations from Northern Canada. So representative of the First Peoples there in Canada. So that's great to see. The challenge was to create a dish that incorporates beef and berries that are indigenous to the area. I love this kind of challenge. I love when Top Chef really leans into where they're at, right? Where they're filming, and leaning into the indigenous local cuisine there, and asking the chefs to do that. And most of the time, it's out of their comfort zones, and because they're not cooking indigenous, First Nations people food on a regular basis. So this is almost out of everybody's wheelhouse. And then pairing up beef and berries, which is something that apparently is regularly done, but in that area. But I have not had a beef and berry kind of combo dish before. Have you, or have you ever cooked one?
I think I immediately think like game meat and berries, not necessarily beef and berries, right? So no, it's not my first, but I remember hearing about, like, in culinary school there was a story that a teacher was teaching us, whatever. The dish was about a beef dish with blue cheese and strawberries. So that's kind of what I thought about, but it's not something I've eaten. I just remember him telling us the story about why it shouldn't work, but it does.
So this type of challenge, I love. It's the best version of Top Chef when they really lean into the local area wherever they're filming. I think is awesome. So big fan of this elimination challenge. So they got to choose their beef and then knife draw for their berries. So everybody's kind of, I wouldn't say rushing. It was a leisurely stroll to the to the beef table. Unlike your season where everybody was like running to everything, and poor
pushing each other down.
Yeah, poor Dan was like, "I'm coming. Save me something."
Greasing the floors.
Yeah, right. So let's see what everybody picked. And what's funny was with berries, we aren't talking basic berries. We're not talking blueberries or strawberries or raspberries. We're talking some real indigenous. I've never heard of these before. So
Yeah.
Tristan got a flat iron and gooseberry. Caesar got a ribeye and a chokeberry. And then who had the strip loin and Hoscot berry? Uh, that was I forgot who that was.
Hoscop.
Yeah, Hascot berry.
I
Shoot, I wrote
have.
I wrote it down and forgot the name.
Wait, hold on one second.
Uh, process of
Sorry,
elimination here.
I have Hoscot. Sorry, the name of the berries is what's getting me.
Yeah. So let me. Oops. Who was it?
Massimo is tenderloin, and then we have
Yeah,
Bailey is
Massimo's.
beef cheek,
So that
Lana's
was
strip
Lana.
loin, and Hoscot. Yeah.
Yep. So Lana. So Lana had that one. Sorry, I wrote down strip loin and Hoscot, but I didn't put down the chef's name. So Lana had that one. Bailey had the beef cheek and Saskatoon berry, which is fun. Schwei had short ribs and black currants. Massimo had the tenderloin and elderberry. So one thing was interesting is everybody wanted beef cheek. So I have not had beef cheek, but why as a chef everybody gravitating like I would have grabbed the ribeye, right? I mean that's an easy, forgivable meat to cook, but everybody wanted the beef cheek. From a chef's point of view, why?
I mean, to me, the beef cheek is more forgiving in the sense of you put that in a pressure cooker and then you're gonna like walk away. And then as long as you like did those first two steps correctly, you're gonna have great beef cheek. Obviously there's like more that goes into it, but like when you're doing a ribeye, like or any steak, we see like with Lana, we see it with Massimo, right? There's like differences in how everything turns out for people. Like doing those things to order can be touch and go. You know when you're serving, so it's like it's not like the game plays against you, but like you're still it's different than like cooking dinner at home. You know, you're like, honey, the grill's not hot yet. Honey, it's going to be 20 more minutes. All
Mhm.
right. Well, now I'm opening the bottle of wine. It's going to be 30 minutes. And now we're sitting down and we're resting it. And now we're putting the show on, but okay, we're finding a movie. You know, no one cares as much. But like here, it's all down to the minute. So it's like you really don't have any of that space. Beef cheek, you put it on, and when it's good and you season it and everything else is great, you can hold it and it's fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because a
Yeah.
lot of these, like flat iron, I mean, there's a fine line between a good flat iron and just like a sole of a shoe flat iron. So that's pretty unforgiving. Ribeye is
Yeah.
pretty forgiving. Tenderloin, somewhat forgiving. And then the short ribs, Schwei was really lucky to get the extra 30 minutes in the short ribs. So he got an advantage from the last
Yeah.
challenge, the last elimination challenge he won. So he gets an advantage for this one, and it was 30 minutes and just a perfect advantage for him because everybody gets 2.5 hours. He gets 3 hours and needed it for his short ribs.
That's a good
So
advantage.
yeah, great advantage that he was able to
Yeah.
take advantage of. So what I love was Tristan heard Denia describe the indigenous dish called pemmican, and it
Hmm.
immediately got his gears going. And this is why, again, I love this challenge. Is he took it and leaned into the challenge. He's like, I'm going to recreate just from hearing her description of the dish. I'm going to create something out of it. Like that's gutsy, and
Yeah.
a lot of talented chefs could try to do that and fail, but he was able to succeed in that. So
Yeah.
hearing him do that and really taking the challenge to heart, what are your thoughts on him doing that safe move when you initially heard it? Where you're like, oh man, do you really want to try to do something you haven't done before? And then remembering, wait, it's Tristan. He's really good at doing something he's never done before.
I thought it was brilliant. So I wasn't really aware that this would come up like leaning into the indigenous stuff. I mean, I didn't research Canada very much. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Right.
did research on Wisconsin. But so I did a lot of that type of research for Wisconsin and watching Tristan in this episode, he said pemmican and I remember like looking up and I'm thinking like, why does that sound so familiar? And I pulled out my notes from when I was getting ready for Wisconsin and it was something that I had written down. And so I'm thinking, I'm like, I wrote it because it is like it's one of the first like energy bars, right? Like it's something that like it was animal fat. You take all this random stuff. If you think about it as like a chef, like that's a pretty cool idea. It's like a compound butter, right? Like I'm going to
Mm.
influence flavor in this way. I'm going to take a fat and like that's how I thought of it at the time. And so seeing Tristan do this, I don't think it's like I think it's a crazy um insane good idea and it's smart, but for him I think it comes down to the basics of like, I'm going to infuse this like animal fat with flavor, and we're going to like he kind of used it as a compound butter like on
Yeah.
his thing, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think that's how he thought about it. So while it seems like, oh, you haven't done this before, I think to him that was a low risk. Like it was a very like stupid smart. Well, you get what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
crazy smart. But in the sense of like, oh, this is like I'm just infusing fat with flavor, and I'm gonna. It's yeah. I
So,
thought it was great.
yeah, I mean, because he's to me, like what you're saying, you did your research for Wisconsin, so you're researching, what are popular dishes in Wisconsin. There's going to be beer, there's going to be cheese, et cetera, et cetera. With a place as vast as Canada, there's a lot of research you can do, but then you get kind of paralysis by analysis. So I'm sure he did his research on Canada, but the way it
Yeah.
looked, like he was creating this dish on the fly in his mind. Like this wasn't something that he researched beforehand. Maybe, I don't know. To me, that's what it seemed
Yeah.
like. That he was hearing the principles behind what is a pemmican and what does it do, and then he just knows the rules of infusing the fat with flavor as a chef, and then doing it. Like that's the difference between a
Yeah.
professional and me, right? I would never have thought
Yeah.
I don't know the rules behind that. So I don't know the rules to break, right? You got to know the rules of the game before you can break them. And
Yeah.
he does. He just has that experience and he knows the basics of okay, it's an infused animal fat. I can do that. I can make a butter out of this. And I would never
Yeah.
know. That's why I love Top Chef so much. I don't know these things. And it's just as
Yeah.
much educational to me as it is entertaining. But that's why I love watching professionals do what they do is because, man, just
Yeah.
to watch their brain work in that way and knowing the rules of the game and then knowing which ones to break and be okay is what makes Tristan such a great competitor in this show. And then
Yeah.
he pulls it off as a compound butter. So fun to watch. What was also pretty cool to see is after shopping, Kristen takes everyone out for beers and burgers, and just has some QT with them, some quality time with all the chefs. And
Yeah.
it kind of reminded me of you guys when you were on the ship and you kind of had that moment with, Morimoto where he was just cooking y'all food and, there was no catch. It was just a hangout time. So what
Yeah.
did you think watching this scene play out?
It was great. It kind of reminded me of too, like the Bartolotta dinner. We had five
Yep.
people left. They took us out to dinner. Um, that was really nice. I was a little jealous of this. It seemed more fun. Like,
Yeah.
hanging out with Kristen at a bar, like eating like, I don't know, burgers look great, like beers and stuff. Like that's my dream. Like to go through like a Sonic drive-through or something with Kristen. So I
It did
think
seem less
it was fun.
staged, right?
Yeah, yeah, it did. It
Yeah.
seemed fun. Yeah.
Less buttoned up and more just like a hangout. It seemed like it was a for real hangout.
Yeah, I think that, maybe it's just Kristen gives off such a calm energy. Oh, my cat just like knocked my clipboard off. Sorry.
That's okay.
Ooh, okay, technical difficulties. I think Kristen gives off such a calming energy. Maybe I feel that way because I was there at one and I'm watching the other one from my couch, but I just thought it was very genuine and like she's cool. Like and also like getting to have that little tidbit of information about Lana, like
Hmm.
staging with her back in the day. Like I love these moments that they carve out in the show because that's when they're going to throw one of those things at you. Like I'm like, I wish I would have known that this whole time. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun listening to Lana's like, "Oh yeah, I staged at your restaurant way back and you didn't give me a job, but you really gave me some encouraging words." And
I
she's like, "Oh no, I'm
immediately
sorry."
Well, watching the confessionals to this episode, I was a little bit like, I'm always looking, I'm like, are they giving us any Easter eggs? And I was kind of like, ooh, this is either good or bad that they're
Yeah.
telling us that.
Yeah, exactly, right. So kind of at this point of the game, we're six chefs left, and I think you start kind of seeing some people pull away. Who do you think is getting a quote unquote winner's edit on these
Massimo.
last? You think so?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't. I mean, I could tell you, I have my final three.
Yeah.
I don't even know if we want to say that or not, but I'm just saying that like I know who I think the final three will be, and I think they're all getting a version of a winner's edit. They're
Yeah.
different. but I think that's what I'm thinking. I don't, does that make sense?
Yeah, because
What do you think?
I'm thinking Tristan's getting a little bit of a winner's edit. Um,
Well, yeah, I mean, since episode 1 for
yeah,
Tristan.
yeah, for sure. I mean, for sure. Way earlier in the season, he's getting a winner's edit. So it would be a rug pull for me if Tristan didn't win this thing. Like if I'm seeing the edit the way it's laid out, and then Tristan doesn't get named top chef, I'm gonna be like, dang, I
But
got
I think,
gaslit bad.
sure, I agree, but I mean, not if they support it with the evidence necessary in the last few episodes, because if he, not that drops it, but if somebody just like rises up and, if he's been comfy cruising and like executing at this level and someone just happens to like, okay, well, guess what? I'm coming for you. And we're both here,
Mhm.
but one of us just tops the other one. I don't think you'd be upset, right? Wouldn't I think there's a part of me that would be upset if I just feel like I knew it was going to happen the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Wouldn't it be a great narrative though if it was like Massimo and Tristan kind of leading up to the finals because of their little beef
Yeah.
of I cook like French and Italian is like I cook everything the way I cook is everything against what Massimo stands for. That's a great storyline. Like right up there with the best in professional wrestling type of storylines. You have your heel and you have your face and they're going to the WrestleMania of Top Chef to finish things off. I think that would be a great narrative to see play out.
Yeah. I think like when's the last time, not that like we enjoy, like I enjoy the camaraderie and I still think that these chefs have respect for each other. Who knows, right? But I think that they're the type of chefs that are going to shake your hand at the end of a cook, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
regardless. But I mean, it would be super fun to have a little bit of drama because I just think like in the finale, it's typically like, may the best chef win. I love you guys. There's only going to be one. But, if there's somebody like, I'm coming for your neck. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
coming for you. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of want it.
Yeah, I like that kind of drama. I like the drama of two opposing philosophies of cooking and seeing who's going to win out in that frame of mind and thought process. Not the sabotage or who stole Ed's pea puree type of thing, but just the drama of I cook this way, he cooks this way. I don't like his philosophy of cooking. I'm going to beat him in that sense.
Yeah.
So this type of drama, I love that. At the end of the day, yes, they're probably friends. They shake hands. I'm sure they'll do a podcast together or something. But in the moment, watching these two kind of come to a head is going to be some good TV. Hopefully, if they make it to the finals.
This is bigger than food.
It's bigger than
It's bigger
food.
than food.
That's right. That's right. It's stuffy versus rustic. I love it. So one thing that I thought was kind of fun was watching Lana test her meat with the cake tester, which is a fun little hack right up against the lip there. I'm more of a instant read thermometer myself. I'm still learning to do it by touch where you can kind of, I don't know if you ever heard that thing. I think if you do like your hand in an okay sign and you touch the meat of your thumb there and different
Yeah.
fingers and the way that muscle tightens up, it's like well done to medium rare and all that. So I'm learning that
Yeah.
way, but I'm still an internal thermometer. Are you a cake tester, touch, or are you internal thermometer?
I mean, if I'm cooking a steak, at home, I have a steak I like, right? I know what I get. I like the thickness. I have all this stuff. I will cook that on the grill until it's like the color I want, and then I'll rest. Like I'll be honest, like it's rare that we will get an instant readout. I think cake tester more than anything. I don't cook a lot of steaks in the restaurant setting. I think I would have to be a lot more accurate and like really on my shit. But if that was the case, I'm still a cake tester girl. So that's what I was like taught on the line. It's like it's the most, sensitive part of your skin, or some people will put it like here, but this is really helpful to me.
Yeah.
But I don't do that. Like I wouldn't be able to start that tomorrow. If I started picking up steaks on the line tomorrow, I'm like a realist. I would probably use a thermometer for the first week or two while I'm remembering what feels right, and then I'd probably go back to a cake tester because I don't
So
like poking big holes like that.
yeah,
And
yeah. So if you're listening to this and wondering what the hell are they talking about? Cake testing meat? What are we doing? So the cake tester is like a little metal rod. You stick it in the meat. It doesn't leave too big of a hole like you were saying, so no juices run out. And you pull it out and you hold the little metal thing up against the bottom of your lip. It's the most sensitive part on your face there. And if you feel the temperature, then you know what temperature the steak's at. If it's too hot, it's too overdone. If it's the same kind of temperature of your face, then you're probably right at the target point there. So you just
Mhm.
feel how hot that cake tester is after you pull it out of the steak. Versus an internal temp, that has that huge probe. You stick it in there, you're gonna run your juices out of your steak. So a lot of fun little hacks there. I saw that on The Bear, on season 1 of The Bear, and I was like, "Ooh, what's he doing?" And I had a chef on. I was like, "What's he doing with that?" It didn't look like a thermometer. It's like, "Oh yeah, it's a cake tester hack. Let me tell you what it's all about." It's like, "Oh, that's so cool." So just again,
Yeah.
educational and entertaining. Uh,
There you go.
I know. So let's get to service. So Lana was up first. She did a grilled steak with Palms Anna and a Hascat berry condiments, smoked Hascat berry jus. The judges loved the smoked sauce, but wanted to see more berry without the aromatics. So she did maybe a little bit too many tricks with the berry there. And then Kristen
Yeah.
thought the sage was overpowering, and Tom thought the meat was over-rested, cooked way too early, and the potato was a disconnect. So not a great start for
Yeah.
Lana. What did
Yeah.
we think there? I mean, even plated, it looked disconnected.
Yeah. I was, I mean, like I said, watching these confessionals, I was a little worried just because I was like, we're getting a lot of Lana stuff. And then to see her dish come out, I felt like, yeah, it looked disconnected. The potatoes looked like just like a separate thing completely. I Tom is big on over resting. I just hear him talk about it a lot. Like
Hmm.
he talked about it a lot when I was there, and I feel like it's something he brings up at least once per season. And I think that like once he says that, you can overanalyze it and be like, oh yeah, the coloring, whatever. I would have thought that if he didn't say that just from looking at it. But it did look like a big piece. She said I like a big chunk of meat, and then seeing it on the plate, I was like, that's a big boy. Like
Hmm.
again, for me, that's never what I lean towards. So that was jarring for me personally. Yeah, and then the sage is very strong. Sage
Yes, it
is
is.
like it's a thing.
Hmm. You don't need a lot.
You don't
Don't need
need
a lot.
any.
You
No.
don't need any. So not your favorite herb.
Yeah, I like say when I think sage, I'm like, give me garlic and give me butternut squash, give me caramelization, give me a roasted chicken, and I want that like once a season. Like, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, yeah. And with the overresting the meat, and Tom's going to point this out on a lot of the meats here. This is all about the protein. So you already need to have, being on Top Chef, you already have to have your proteins on point every time. But one
Mhm.
where this challenge is focused on the protein, you really got to nail it. So and we're at the point now with 6 people, you're going to be eliminated for little things like overresting, as we learn about later on. So you got
Yeah.
to have that stuff on point. So not a great start for Lana. She thought everything was good, but the judges think something different. So
Yeah.
Massimo did a tenderloin with an umeboshi, pickled elderberry sauce, smoked kohlrabi, and an elderberry soup puree. Judges thought it was a showstopper. Thought it was a perfect combo of the beef and the elderberry, and the meat was cooked perfectly. I thought it was impressive, that little fruit leather thing. Was that the umeboshi? The fruit
Yeah, I
leather
think
thing? Okay.
yeah, I think so. I like this. I mean, Massimo, this is what like I thought this was kind of not catered to him, but I was like, this is his to lose.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was interesting though. He made it a point to say at judge table, I was trying not to do French techniques. Like I was trying to go outside of what I normally do and make this. And then everybody's called him out. I was like, I saw him basting.
That was so funny.
That was hilarious. He's like, yeah, you're saying
Also,
this, but you're still doing it.
well, yeah, it's also kind of like, I don't know, why stop doing French techniques like that? Whatever. Like, what's your PO? Like, I don't know, kind of lean into your POV. Like, if that's your
Yeah.
thing, like, do it. You can just have more of an open mind about it. But like, dude, this is what you're good at. Like, Massimo reminded me in this episode of there's a few people in my past who I've like worked with that kind of have these very old school mentalities of like, no, I was taught by somebody 4 restaurants ago, and this is how you do it, and this is the only way. And like for me, I'm very open. I like the idea of like, oh, well, like why don't we all just say the way that we know how to do it, and then we'll compare them and we'll pick one. Or it's like, well, no, like we're gonna do it this way because the dish is actually this. I can't stand it like you box yourself in that way. So for Massimo to like kind of have that air about him, But take something like this, those chefs, those people like Massimo are the people who you give that steak to, and you tell them I need this done perfectly.
Yep.
Because they've done it a million times. Like,
Yeah.
as much as that mentality can, and maybe, I'm just thinking of people he reminds me of, but like, that was something I always appreciated about those people, is like, God, they're stuck in their ways. But if you need a perfect steak done every single time on a Friday night and blah, 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 like, that's the guy, because he's been trained. This is the only way you do it. And he does it the same way every time. So I kind of appreciate that about him.
Yeah. When he said that about, I was trying not to do like my French technique that I usually do. It made me think like he overheard Tristan's confessional from last week saying he's all up in my face about French technique and Italian food. I gotta wonder if he overheard that somehow and be like, you know what? I can show him I can do something different. To me, because it was just the way that he flipped so from one episode to the next in terms of like, I'm going to go outside of myself at a time where you really should be leaning into what you do well for him to, but it worked out for him, but I feel like he overheard Tristan. I don't know. Maybe that's the head canon. That's in my head canon.
They could have been like, hey, Tristan said this shit about you. What do you think? You know what I mean?
Again, it's that, pre-fight interview. It's like, yeah, you're going to let him talk about you like that? And then they film his response. So I don't know. That's what I'm thinking, but who knows? So let's see. Bailey did a Saskatoon braised beef cheek with creamy polenta and brulee blue cheese and roasted walnut. They did say there was layers of flavor that were impressive. Gail didn't like the brulee blue cheese, which I don't like blue cheese, and then you're brulee on top of that. I don't know. It doesn't sound good to me. But the flavor of the Saskatoon was lost, and Kristen said you have to play into the challenge at this stage of the game. So I think Bailey, the brulee blue cheese was probably not a great call, but everything else sounded great. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just kind of overpowered it. That makes sense. I liked how the other contestants were like, man, I kind of like the brulee blue cheese. Like you heard a few people be like, yeah, I thought that was good. I believe that this could have been one of those things where it was like, no, maybe it just like was, you just veered off a little too hard. But like, I don't even like blue cheese, and I thought it was interesting and appealing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I understand though. You have to really like focus in at this point.
I'm wondering if maybe the brulee blue cheese tasted good on its own, but like with everything together, just didn't mesh.
Yeah.
Maybe
too sweet. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. So Tristan did a flat iron with kohlrabi, gooseberries, and bone marrow pemmican. Tom said it had a ton of flavor, very rich, but the gooseberries cut into that, and everyone loved the gooseberries. You saw Gail kind of, oh, you gonna finish that gooseberry?
Yeah.
Let me take that off your plate for you, which is always fun. But the only problem that he had was the inconsistent cook on the meat. Again, we were talking about that earlier. Flat iron, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very temperamental. You gotta get it right. It's a very fine line between perfect and overdone. And I think Gail said she got an end piece that was just a little overdone, and it's those little mistakes, man. At this stage of the game, that's going to knock you out of the top or bottom, or put you from the top to the bottom. And that inconsistent cook on the meat is what got him. But everything else sounded great. What are your thoughts on Tristan's dish?
I just hated it for him, because when you hear that and you're like, conceptually it makes sense. Like I'm on board. I'm like on the Tristan bandwagon for like what he stands for. I'm just kind of like, come on, Gail. But I understand it is that important at this point in the competition. And I'm sure that she was correct. And he's like, you just see it in his eyes, like, damn it.
Yeah.
Because it's basically like getting a 99 is how it feels. It's like,
right.
Damn it.
So close. So close. You got an A- instead of an A+. Ah, too bad.
When you mess up on something that you can do.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So Cesar did a grilled ribeye with a chokeberry reduction, a rutabaga cream, and a bone marrow cornbread. Perfect cook on the meat. Cornbread was a big hit, which, I mean, bone marrow cornbread, that just sounds fantastic. It looks so perfect. And he said cute. It looked cute. But it looked like a perfect little cornbread with the center kind of raised up like that. So the tartness of the chokeberry was lost in the reduction. And he even said it in judge table where He's like, yeah, I wanted some tartness to go with the richness of the beef. It's like, well, that's what the chokeberry is. It was like a perfect combination. You should have let the chokeberry be the chokeberry to offset that richness of the ribeye if that's what you're looking for. But you turned it into a jam, essentially, made it too
Yeah.
sweet. So, you kind of hate hearing him say that at judge table, knowing that that's what the berry was, right? And is it just a matter of he didn't uh, taste it before cooking, or I don't know. Like if he was looking for tartness, you eat a chokeberry right off the bat. Maybe he thought it was too tart and tried to tame it down
Yeah.
and tamed it down too much.
I think that you're often tasked in these challenges with highlighting an ingredient. And like in a restaurant setting, our brains are normally like, ooh, I want to highlight this ingredient maybe because it's local or like it's a community driven thing, like a farmer brought this to me or whatever. And to make it palatable for mass consumption, I'm going to edit it for it to be something that people might be more used to. Like those niche restaurants are the ones that are like, I'm going to give you a gooseberry in its purest form and you're going to eat it on its own with the fermented liquid of this blah blah blah, right? But like
Hmm.
typically you're making food for a lot of people that you need it to be palatable for a lot of palates. And so I just think it's like first inclination to do something like that. It reminds me again of like something we did, fish boil. We're all like, you don't boil fish. We were
Right.
asked to boil the fish, so they were asked to highlight the berries, and it's a silly mistake that happens all the time. And you realize it later, like, oh man, I thought I was like doing that, but in reality I wasn't really highlighting it. I was masking it.
Yeah, when I was talking to Sue, I had him on the pod talking about the fish boil. He was like, man, any other restaurant we would have got fired for that challenge for boiling a fish.
Yeah.
Like you're asking us to do something that's the antithesis of what we are taught to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, really interesting to bring that one up. But yeah, so Cesar lost the tartness on that one. Shuai. So Shuai did Mama Wang's stuffed cabbage with braised short rib, wild rice congee, and black currant black pepper sauce. I thought it was really smart of him when he realized that some of the short ribs weren't as tender as the others, that he mixed it all up. So I mean, that was good. He kind of hid the imperfect short ribs with the perfect
Yeah.
short ribs. So smart move on his part. The judges loved it. What I love too is the guest judge, Denia. She said it reminded her of something her mom would make, which was really interesting to me because Shuai made this as kind of like something his mom would make, and it's very,
Yeah.
very Asian, and Denia very much not Asian, but it reminded them of each other's
Yeah.
very different cuisine, but coming together through this dish. I thought was really cool and just kind of reminded myself of the unifying, power of food. No matter what region you're in, you can eat something that is
Yeah.
decidedly Asian and remind you of something decidedly Native American, or Native Canadian, First Nations. Sorry. So just amazing to hear that. What did you think?
Yeah, food connects us, like that was definitely like a sweet moment of having um that connection. Or anytime someone eats something and they're like, oh, this brings me to this moment, and that is a good moment for me,
Hmm.
is I think one of the best things that you can hear as a chef. So him like getting that compliment I thought was great. um I I will be honest, this was not my favorite dish, but I know that it tasted good
Yeah.
because Schwei's food, I feel like it's flavor city. And I love that it's always inspired. Like he's very good at like finding his why and putting that on the plate. Um, I guess I was like visually, it took me a second. I was like, oh, hold on one second. Like it was very rustic, and I have no issue with that. But like, I almost, for me, and I'm when I saw, like, to reference like last week, when I see the collard dumplings and like the final hot pot, last hot pot or something, that was like for me, like what I get excited about from Schwei, because I know that he can do this this delicious flavor packed comfort food that is like telling a story, because he always has a story to tell, and like I love that. But we're final five, we're final six, so I like it when he kind of takes it up a notch
Hmm.
personally.
Hmm.
um and so kind of having those thoughts, I was really happy that at judges table he was celebrated for the choices that he made in that sense, because I was a little bit like, I don't know, at first I was like, hold on, and to hear the positive reviews I was like, worth it, worth it.
Yeah. So you were looking for something a little bit more refined out of Schwai in this particular
I
challenge,
am.
and
I
this was
feel
a
like
little
it's
bit
not
more
what I'm.
homey.
Thank you for. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah. Yeah, I
at
mean,
this point.
at this stage of the game, right? You're looking for something a little bit more buttoned up, a little bit more refined, a little cleaner. But you know, it tasted good. So, and this is where I think this is why I love having like somebody like you on the show, because I thought complete opposite, right? I thought Schweiz was a winner. Like I thought he was going to win this challenge based on those comments. And Massimo ended up
Yeah.
winning the elimination challenge. I was like, I was a little disappointed. I like Massimo, but I thought Schweiz felt more from the heart. And it was different because Tom even said, look, we got a bunch of steakhouse type dishes, and Schweiz was
Yeah.
completely different and not that. Um, so let's get right into judges table. So
Yeah.
we're talking about Tom liked Schweiz's point of view on his dish. And we just said about everyone having a steakhouse type dish, and Schweiz was completely different. Denia loved Tristan's pemmican because on the top was Schwei, Massimo, and Tristan. Kristen thought Massimo's dish was very harmonious between the beef and the elderberry, and Massimo won. Without tasting the dishes, personally, I thought Schwei should have won. I thought the pick was wrong this time around. I liked Schwei's dish. I like that it was different. I don't mind rustic versus fine dining. I think,
Hmm.
yeah, at this point, maybe, but that's almost to me a personal preference. Uh, so again, without tasting the dishes, I thought Schwei would have won, but I guess Massimo, with the way he balanced his elderberry in three different ways, and the perfect cook on his meat on his beef dish, made his the winner. So
Yeah.
did you think we picked the right winner here?
I did. So I like that we have different opinions though, because I appreciate it. The the perspectives for me, and I think for me it comes down to not rustic versus fine dining. Let's just say that you have two chefs and both plates of food are the exact level of like phenomenal.
Hmm.
They both taste fantastic. Then what do you go to? POV, technique. And so for me, it comes down to like, I just believe that they can both make delicious food, that I'm almost, and I also believe that like someone like Shuai has more technique, that he's not, I think he's either being safe or like, I just think that like, it's something that people say, and I've said it before, like, I just, I just don't have that. And it's like, well, but like when you want to pull it out and give it a shot and try, sometimes it works out. And I think it's just something I'm waiting to see from him because I think that they both make delicious food. So I'm a little bit more impressed by Massimo's, I guess.
Yeah.
And I
I,
think he deserves it.
I think making the fruit leather kind of put him over the top. There was a lot more, I would say, a lot more technique in Massimo's dish than in Schwei's. Um, and Schwei having the extra 30 minutes to cook the short rib gave him that advantage. Had it been 2.5
Yeah.
hours, it might not have been the same dish. He might not have had enough time to finish that short rib, and we would be having a different discussion. But I think the technique, you're right, with the technique with Massimo showing with the omobusha, what did I say? Omobusha.
Umabushi. But also,
Yeah.
yeah, he had 30 extra. I guess that's another thing. Thank you for reminding me. With Shuai having that 30 extra minutes, I think I just, sometimes they get to judges table and they're like, we could tell that you had 30 extra minutes. Like you
Right.
used it.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
That's it.
So Massimo wins, and he wins an advantage for the next elimination challenge. We'll find out what that is next week. So on the bottom was everybody else. We had Caesar, Bailey, and Lana. Tom said the brulee just didn't work, and the pomegranate didn't work with the Saskatoon berry. Lana's dish was too disconnected, and the meat was not juicy, over-rested. Caesar's berry was lost in lost its tannic nature that the ribeye needed. I think the common denominator for these bottom three was balance. A lot of balance issues for these three, where Bailey had the brulee blue cheese that kind of offset everything, and then Lana had the sage that was out of balance with everything else, so I just
Yeah.
think the balance, and at this point, that's what you're looking for. Is you're really looking for a tidied up dish that is well balanced, that you can put everything on a bite, and it all makes sense together. So I thought it was the
Yeah.
right bottom three.
Yeah, I think they want restaurant ready food
Yeah.
at this point.
Yep. So the eliminated chef was Lana. So unfortunately, she's gone, but the quickfire deemed Bailey safe, so she was immediately safe. She had the better quickfire out of the three. So it was really between Lana and Caesar, and probably could have been a coin toss, but I think Lana's sage was really off-putting to some, and she got
Yeah.
sent home for that, and no Last Chance Kitchen. So the cute run is over.
No.
Although I think we have Caesar and Bailey to continue the run of cutes.
Keep it going.
Yeah.
This one, Lana has been like someone I was excited about since episode 1. So, and I still am excited for her. You know what I mean? But I think I'm going to miss seeing her personality every week.
Yeah, well, you're going to see them in the finals, right? They're going to have a sous chef to help cook their final meal. So we're going to see her one more time.
I forgot how it works.
Yeah, they're not gone forever. We'll still see them.
Wait, so cute.
That's right.
I didn't even do it on purpose, but yeah.
So Lana was eliminated. Massimo's the winner. Overall, I thought it was a great episode. Again, when they lean into the local challenges and the local indigenous stuff. I love when Top Chef does that. Houston was a great example of that. So I think when we do more of that is when Top Chef is really shining bright and what sets it apart from all the other cooking competition shows out there. So good episode. Loved it. So we got a sneak peek into next week. Looks like there's some sort of foraging type challenge, which should be fun.
It looks so much fun. I'm so jealous, Rich.
I know. I'm like, the more I watch this season, the more I feel bad about your group that went to Wisconsin. Like, I was skeptical of Wisconsin at first. It turned out to still be a great season as all Top Chef, but the level though of seasons is, we have Canada, I think, is up here, and Wisconsin's kind of like over here. No offense to you, but
there's no offense taken. There's absolutely no offense taken. I feel like you're allowed to say it because I'm grateful for the experience. You know what I'm saying? No, you're allowed to say it. I can't sound like a brat, but I just think, it made me wonder, like, Canada deeper pockets? Like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? Like, we didn't get to jump off of any, like, we didn't do anything. I don't know. No, that's not true at all, but I'm just like, what is happening?
I didn't get to lean off a building or go forage for my food. What the hell, man? And Milan? Come on.
Milan? Anyways, anyways.
We digress. Look, it's okay. It's okay. I mean,
I'm really happy for them. I'm really happy for them.
I'm so happy. Yeah. Like when you apply, you don't know where you're going until you get the call, right? And so when you got the call to go to Wisconsin, you're kind of like, Wisconsin? Really?
I'm actually like tearing up from laughing. Well, so for us, I think, some people maybe found out and some people hadn't yet. I don't know if I had the final interview saying I was going because they posted like on Instagram, Padma's leaving, Kristen's coming in, and we're going to Wisconsin. It was like bam, bam, bam. And so then I think my phone call was like the next week. So I had like a week of being like, okay, so now I can kind of zero in. It was something like that. And then I found out I was going. So, but Wisconsin.
Yay, Wisconsin. It's no Milan, but hey, Wisconsin. So, well, we did it.
Midwestern Milan.
Midwestern Milan. We did it.
Fun.
We covered the season, episode 11. The season. No, we're almost done with the season. Another great episode. Down to 5 now. So we're getting close to the end here. So let's cover our draft points. So Bailey, -2 for being on the bottom of the judges table. This is for my team. Schwei got two sets of points for my team. He won the quickfire for 5 points. He was top of the judges table for 3 points, so he gets 8 points total for the episode. Tristan got 3 points for being at the top of the judges table, so my episode total is 9. For your team, Caesar was on the bottom of the judges table with -2 points. Lana was also on the bottom of the judges table for -2 points, but Massimo won the episode, so you get 7 points for a total of 3. So for the season, or for the episode, I win the episode 9-3. For the season so far, I'm at 98. You are at 84. So I'm starting to widen the gap. But we got 2 episodes left before the final, I think 5-4. Yeah. So we got 2 more episodes left before the final, and then the points drastically change for the final. So it's still really anybody's game.
3 people, and I have 2 now.
Yes. So I got 1, 2, 3. Yep. So I got 3 people. You're down to 2. Yep. Okay. So you're gonna need Caesar or Massimo to really pull it out over the next couple of episodes. But you're still in it. I mean, it's not a runaway.
But I'm still in it. I think I think I might have the winner on my team. I feel
You
I'm like
might.
really. I mean, you might. One of us does.
Yeah.
But secret. I don't want to give anything away. Between the two of us, one of us does.
Spoiler alert, one of us is going to win this thing. But I mean, think about it that way. I mean, if we're really thinking about our top three for me, or at least top two, you got to think Massimo and Tristan are going to be in the top two. So it's really interesting that one's on your team, one's on my team. This could be a really dramatic ending. Or it could very well be the finals are all my team or the finals are all your team. So we don't know. We don't know.
I need to hear those two. Those are the two chefs that I need to hear their story, not just their menu, but like, what is Massimo tableside giving the meal of his life, right? Like, aren't you really interested in what that looks like? And Tristan, just like how you get us from point A to like point B, right? Like the way he tells stories and his influences already is so great. Like dramatic effect and just storytelling for Massimo tableside, but Tristan literally like kind of where did he conceptualize this idea? I'm super excited to hear both of them.
Yeah, if Massimo makes it to the final cook where you're cooking the story of your life, he's gonna go full Massimo in storytelling mode, and I'm here for it. I cannot wait to see what he does and how he interacts with the table, because that's gonna set him apart, like it or not. That's what sets him apart. So good episode. What you got going on this week, and where can people find out what's going on in your life?
You can follow me on Instagram. It's at Savvy Sav, SAVVYSAVB. Lots of work, honestly. Like we have a few events happening this week, which is fun, but it's like, it's extra homework on top of everything else. So we are crushing through that. And then a little bit of a break next weekend. We're doing some traveling, but it's all personal. It's not any fun chef events.
No work
weddings.
trips, huh?
No, I hope not. No, if I'm working on this trip, then that means like their caterer canceled for this wedding. So
something went horribly wrong.
I'm hoping that's not true. But yeah, so just pretty normal week over here. But I'm really excited to get to the end of this, and I feel like this journey has been really fun to follow along, and I can't wait to see who the next top chef is.
Yeah, it's been really fun. Yeah, I was just thinking about you going to a wedding and the caterer drops out the last second. They're like, Savannah, I need you to cook for 300 people in 2 hours. Go. Top chef all over again.
Oh man, I'd be like, where's the checkbook? I'm like, how much were you paying the caterer?
Double that. Put some zeros on that one. So
I can send a bat signal, but
hilarious.
Anyways.
Well, Chef Savannah, thank you so much for your time. Again, a great week, great episode, great to spend time with you. Looking forward to seeing what happens. So, folks, follow me on socials at Rich Herrera and at Eat Your Content. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe on your podcast player of choice so you can keep following along with our fun little hijinks as we talk about Top Chef through the rest of the season. Chef Savannah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Eat Your Content. If you like what you hear, please consider supporting the podcast through my merch store on TeePublic. Get great quality items like t-shirts, hats, mugs, and more, all sporting the vibrant Eat Your Content logo. Go to teepublic.com/user/eatyourcontent for more great items, and thanks for your support.